Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to discuss, are dating apps safe to use in the country of Colombia? Whether it's for a long-term stay, a short-term stay, are dating apps safe for you guys to use there? I think the short answer would be no, but there's a more elaborate long answer that I'm going to give in this video because that's not a very interesting video to cover here. I've actually been to Colombia recently. I actually did use dating apps in the country, and no, I didn't get drugged and robbed. But here's the thing, you really got to have your wits about you. You need your discretion, and you really need to think with the right head and use your brain when it comes to using dating apps in a country like Colombia. Obviously, we've heard the different stories about people getting drugged and robbed in their apartments, and some people unfortunately meeting their ends, and it's very unfortunate when that happens, and I don't wish that upon anyone. But there's definitely some preventable measures that you can take to prevent yourself from becoming one of those victims and turn using dating apps into something that's a little more safe and a little more accessible than what's maybe presented in the mainstream. So first off, let's talk about the dating apps that are available to you in the country of Colombia. There is no Hinge, by the way. Basically, your main ones are going to end up being Bumble and Tinder. And right off the bat, I would just not recommend Tinder at all to use in Colombia. There's just too many bad actors on that app. There's been too many incidences specifically with that app, and specifically in the country of Medellin, or not, and specifically in the city of Medellin, that I think it's just too much of a risk for you to use that app specifically. And if you do resort to using an app like Bumble, believe me, there's plenty of girls on there. There's plenty of people to communicate with there and get a an idea what the dating experience is, and you don't need to indulge in the whole Tinder situation. Now, this is really going to depend on what cities you're visiting, what your intentions are with the dating apps are really going to affect your outcomes and what your level of safety is. For example, if you're just looking for quick hookups in the city of Medellin, and you download Tinder, your chances of running into some trouble are much higher than someone who is just looking for a genuine connection in the country, maybe in a smaller town or a town outside of Medellin using the app like Bumble. Your results will vary depending on what kind of apps you use, what you're looking for, and how you go about filtering people to meet when you're in the country. A good general strategy, I would say, is for the large cities, Cartagena, Medellin, Cali less so. I would say there's less of sort of the fraudulent behavior going on, but really Bogota, Cartagena, and Medellin are going to be the biggest targets of different criminal groups for trying to scopolamine different passport bros and people traveling there short term. They're going to be unfortunately using women to try and get to people's resources, and in that process, some guys end up being very scarred because of the drugging situations that happen or end up dying. So the first things first, you're going to those large cities and you intend on downloading dating apps. I just wouldn't recommend Tinder off the bat, but the strategy I'm going to give you will apply to if you decide to download Tinder. But Bumble I think is a much better option. I think there's less scammers on that app than Tinder, but you still need to have your due diligence. So number one, when you're using Bumble, is I would download it and pay for the travel mode ahead of time before your trip. So I would say about a month is a good window, maybe actually 2 weeks to a month is actually a good window for you to use it, because a lot of these scopolamine incidences come from people downloading the apps in the city, meeting girls the same day or within one day, and then meeting them and a friend without any sort of vetting, without chatting on Instagram or verifying their identity in any sort of way, and then inviting them to their place. That's where you're going to land in trouble. If you download the apps a couple weeks ahead of time and you use your travel mode and you start communicating with girls there, you're going to find out which ones are the scammers and are looking for a quick buck, and which ones are actually willing to kind of stick around and enjoy the conversation. Doesn't mean they can't end up being scammers, but it's much more likely that the scammers are going to look for someone who's a quick and easy target and not waste their time on someone who is, looking for something that's a little more lasting or is coming in a few weeks, because they have other things to get to. They have other people to scam. They're not going to focus on running a long con on someone that's not even in the city yet. So right off the bat, if you're able to do that and then, maybe communicate with the girl for a few days, or one day or whatever, and then try and get some verifiable information, usually via Instagram, of their real existence, right? Find out if they're a real person, look at their profile and see if this is what a regular person's Instagram profile look like. If all she's got is one or two pictures and they're all booty pics or something, and there's just a suspicious amount of followers to following ratio, then maybe is a bit of a red flag to you that this person is maybe up to some shady behavior. But if you see some posts for her from her Instagram, she's with her family, she's with her friends, she's graduating college, whatever, and there's like 5 or 6 years of information there, she's probably just a regular person. There's a good chance of that. Doesn't mean you let your guard down or you don't take other precautions, but that definitely lends to you that, okay, maybe this is not a scam or situation, that this could actually be legit. And if you spend quite a few weeks contacting them, and you don't have to message them every day or something, but keeping a conversation going for a long term will kind of give you that reassurance that they're not looking for a quick scam, and that they're maybe actually genuinely want to meet you when you come to the city, and are not looking to just sort of scam you in any sort of way. Some additional red flags I think on the app is when they use overly, I would say, loving or touchy-feely language early on in the conversation. If they're constantly calling you papacito, or really, you're super handsome, or they're calling you babe within 2 sentences of the conversation, okay, this is like some red flag stuff right here. They're trying to kind of hook you in, honey trap you in, so that you invite them over to your place as quickly as possible. And that would be sort of the second red flag, is that they offer to come to your place, that they don't pick some sort of public general space to meet, but they actually want to come directly to your place. And even a double red flag is if they want to bring a friend. Okay, that's just like the scopolamine robbery blueprint 101, is she brings a friend with her and you get scoped. So do not fall for that. That is 99% of the time going to be some sort of fraudulent behavior, and you're going to want to avoid that at all costs. Think about it. Think about it from her perspective. She's a regular girl and she's meeting some random guy from a different country. Is she going to want to be one-on-one alone with him without ever meeting him in person in his apartment when she doesn't know him at all? That just think about that for a second, guys. And would a normal girl actually want that? I don't think they would. They would probably want to meet in a public space. So if you're going to meet these girls, no matter what level of vetting you've done, meet them in a public place for the first meeting. Malls are a great place. There's tons of people around. Malls are armed to the teeth in Colombia. You can't walk 5 steps without seeing an armed guard somewhere. So the likelihood of you like getting robbed and scoped in the middle of a mall where there's cameras and guards everywhere is just ultra unlikely. And if they deny meeting you in a public place and want to meet you in private instead, that should be another red flag to you. But just go ahead, just do it in a public place like that. Restaurants also not a bad place, but I think malls in particular, indoor shopping centers, are just a very safe place to meet girls. They should feel comfortable with you. You'll feel comfortable with them. You can get to know them in sort of a very safe environment and not have to be super paranoid. I think overall and all around, that's just a good way to go. Another one is if there's an outsized attractiveness discrepancy between you and the girl, and you're going to need to use your own judgment on this one. But if you're a much older guy and you're in your 60s and you're not a spring chicken anymore, and you've got a 19-year-old messaging you about how much she wants to meet you and calls you papacito and says that, she can't wait to see you, that's probably a sign that this is not a legitimate thing. Then this person has some ulterior motives for the most part there. So just use your judgment there. And Colombia is definitely a dating friendly environment for sure for men. It's not the United States, but it's also not magic. Okay, if you have no game and you're not a very attractive guy and you don't have your life together in US, I'm just being blunt with this, and you think it's just going to be like all sunshine and rainbows in Colombia, it's not. Okay, so don't go in with that expectation there. I did really well on the dating apps in Colombia. It was no problem there, but I even do well in the US despite me choosing not really to date there all that much. So have realistic expectations for what you're walking into, and you should be okay there. And then I think the fifth thing when it comes to like trying to swipe on girls on the dating apps in Colombia, okay, try to vet them ahead of time in terms of, are they a college student? Do they work a job? Try and look at the profile a little bit. Don't just look at how they look, 2 profile pictures of them in a bikini on the beach with booty pics or something, and then just match with those girls. Okay, those are going to be low quality matches. You're not going to get anything out of that. Try and meet people that you can establish a genuine connection from, that maybe can turn into something real, or you can just enjoy a few days with each other or something like that. Okay, don't just go for the superficial thing. Okay, that's really kind of old and tiring. So, and that's just going to increase your chances of getting scammed or something bad happening to you. Overall, I think dating apps in Colombia are a bit of a mixed bag. I would avoid Tinder completely. You can use dating apps like Bumble with quite a bit of discretion. Meeting in a public place, really vetting the girls quite a bit ahead of time, verifying their identities. Instagram, get their WhatsApp information as well. If they have a job listed in their Instagram account, or there's a university they graduated from, that's even better. Do a bit of a job a couple weeks ahead of time on travel mode to vet these girls. And if you meet them in a public place, there's a good chance that you could have a good time on a date. But if you don't use your judgment and you just think you're going to get a quick hookup out of it at your place with her friend as well, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you probably should avoid doing that altogether. So if you guys have any questions about how I used Bumble in the country of Colombia, let me know in a comment down below. I'd be happy to answer those questions as best I can. Please like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And anyways, I'll see you guys next time.